Yuna's ex-husband's laughter cut through the charity gala. Did you let yourself go that badly? Every head in the Seoul ballroom turned to judge her body, never knowing she carried a child whose father ran half the city's underground empire. But here's what made her heart stop. Miho Park wasn't supposed to be at this event. Wasn't supposed to see her like this. Yet 30 minutes after her ex's cruel mockery, a woman in a designer suit appeared beside her with one quiet command. Mr. Park would like a word. Now. Hey there. I created this story after you asked for more second-chance romance with protective Mafia heroes. Would you have confronted your ex right there in public, or walked away with dignity like she did? Drop your answer below and subscribe to see what happens when the Mafia boss discovers the truth. Now back to the story. Yuna's hand shook as she set down the pregnancy test. For weeks after that night she'd sworn to forget. Her bathroom mirror reflected a face she barely recognized, fuller, softer, carrying evidence of the secret growing inside her. She'd returned to Seoul to finalize her divorce papers at her lawyer's office. Nothing more. Her ex-husband's voice still rang in her ears from the charity gala the evening before. The one she'd only attended because her family insisted. Did you let yourself go that badly? Jinwoo had announced it across their table, his new fiancée, younger, thinner, smirking into her champagne. Yuna had felt the weight of every judging stare, measuring her changed body, her fuller face. She hadn't explained, hadn't mentioned the baby, certainly hadn't mentioned Miho Park. 3 months earlier, she'd been signing papers in a lawyer's office in Gangnam, trying to finalize her divorce quietly. She'd felt someone's presence before she'd seen him. That particular quality of dangerous attention. Running away won't make him stop controlling you. A voice had said from the doorway, low and certain. Men like your husband only understand one language. She'd looked up to find him. Tall, built like someone who'd fought for everything he had, wearing a perfectly tailored suit that couldn't quite hide the predator beneath. His presence made her lawyer's security seem decorative. But it was his eyes that stole her breath, dark, knowing, seeing straight through her careful composure. I can handle my own divorce, she'd whispered, though her hands trembling on the papers betrayed her. He'd stepped just inside the door, close enough that she could smell his cologne. No, he'd said quietly. You really can't. Chapter 1. Yuna shouldn't have answered the door. She'd known it was him before she even looked through the peephole. 3 sharp knocks, perfectly spaced. The kind of controlled patience that belonged to a man who always got what he wanted. Go away, Miho. Her voice cracked against the wood separating them. Open the door, Yuna. Not a request. Never a request with him. She pressed her forehead against the cold surface, willing herself to be strong. Tomorrow morning, she'd sign the divorce papers. Tomorrow, she'd be free of Jinwoo's control, his family's expectations, the suffocating life she'd never chosen. Tomorrow, she'd disappear before Miho Park could pull her deeper into his dark world. But tonight, tonight she was so tired of being strong. Her hand moved to the lock before her brain could stop it. He filled her doorway like a storm about to break. Still wearing the black suit from earlier, but his tie was gone, his collar open. His jaw was tight, and those dangerous eyes swept over her oversized sweater and bare legs with an intensity that made her skin flush. You weren't going to say goodbye. It wasn't a question. There's nothing to say. She tried to close the door. His hand caught it. He didn't push, he didn't need to. The weight of his presence was enough. Liar. Miho, your lawyer told me you changed the meeting time. Moved it to 8 a.m. instead of noon. He stepped inside, and she had to back up or let him touch her. She wasn't ready for him to touch her. You were going to sign those papers and vanish before I woke up. You don't own me. But her voice shook. No. He closed the door behind him with a quiet click that sounded like a cell locking. But he doesn't either. Not anymore. The air between them crackled. Yuna's pulse hammered in her throat. She'd spent 3 months trying to convince herself that what she felt for Miho Park was just gratitude. He'd helped her escape Jinwoo's increasingly possessive grip. He'd stationed men outside her apartment when her ex-husband started showing up drunk and angry. He'd made it clear to everyone in Seoul's upper circles that she was under his protection. But protection had turned into something else during those late-night conversations in his car, when he'd insisted on driving her home from her lawyer's office. Something else when his hand would linger on her lower back as he guided her through crowded restaurants. Something else entirely when she'd catch him watching her with a hunger that had nothing to do with keeping her safe. I can't do this, she whispered, but she didn't move away when he stepped closer. Can't do what? His voice dropped lower. Can't leave? Or can't admit you feel this too? You're dangerous. Yes. He didn't deny it. His hand came up slowly, giving her time to retreat. When she didn't, his fingers traced her jaw with devastating gentleness. But I've never lied to you about what I am, Yuna. Can Jinwoo say the same? The mention of her almost ex-husband should have doused the fire building between them. Instead, it ignited something reckless in her chest. He called me tonight, she heard herself say. Said if I go through with the divorce, he'll make sure I never work in Seoul again. That his family will destroy my reputation. Miho's expression went absolutely cold. He threatened you. He always threatens me. She was shaking now, 3 months of fear and exhaustion breaking through her careful control. That's all he knows how to do. Threaten and control and… Miho's mouth was on hers before she could finish. The kiss was nothing like she'd imagined during those dangerous moments alone. It wasn't gentle or questioning. It was claiming, desperate, 3 months of restraint shattering between them. His hands framed her face like she was something precious he was afraid to break, even as he backed her against the wall with a need that matched her own. She should stop this. Should push him away. Should remember all the reasons why falling into bed with a man like Miho Park was the worst decision she could make. But when he lifted her, when her legs wrapped around his waist, and he carried her toward the bedroom, all Yuna could think was that tomorrow she'd be strong again. Tomorrow she'd face the consequences. Tonight, she just wanted to feel alive. Hours later, she woke to find him watching her in the darkness, his fingers tracing patterns on her bare shoulder. Don't go tomorrow, he said quietly. Stay. Miho, I know what you think I am. What I do. His hand stilled against her skin. But I would burn this entire city down before I let anyone hurt you again. Including myself. Her heart cracked at the rawness in his voice. I have to sign those papers. I have to be free of him. Then sign them. He pulled her closer. But don't disappear on me. Promise me, Yuna. She should have promised. Should have said the words that would ease the tension in his body. Instead, she kissed him again, memorizing the taste of him, knowing that when morning came, she'd do exactly what she'd planned. She'd sign the papers. And she'd run before Miho Park could make her want to stay forever. What she didn't know, what she couldn't know as she drifted back to sleep in his arms, was that Jinwoo's lawyer would be found dead in his office by morning, the divorce papers destroyed, and her carefully planned escape would become impossible. And the child growing inside her would change everything. Yuna knew someone was following her 3 blocks before she reached her apartment. She'd learned to recognize the signs during her marriage to Jinwoo. The black sedan that took too many of the same turns. The way pedestrians seemed to part around certain men in suits, that crawling sensation between her shoulder blades that screamed danger. But this felt different. Heavier. More deliberate. Her hand trembled as she unlocked her building's entrance, trying to act casual even as her heart hammered against her ribs. For months. She'd managed to stay hidden for 4 months after fleeing Seoul that morning, leaving behind nothing but a note on Miho's pillow that said, "I'm sorry." She'd changed her number. Withdrawn cash instead of using cards. Rented this tiny apartment in Busan under a friend's name. She'd done everything right. So why did she feel like prey that had just run out of places to hide? The elevator doors closed, and she sagged against the wall, her hand instinctively moving to the swell of her stomach beneath her loose coat. 5 months along now. Still hideable under the right clothes, but not for much longer. "It's okay," she whispered to the baby. "We're safe. We're…" The elevator lurched to a stop between floors. Yuna's blood turned to ice as the emergency lights flickered on. She jabbed the button frantically, but nothing happened. The panel was dead. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Did you really think you could hide from me?" Her knees nearly buckled. Before she could process, the elevator groaned back to life, rising to her floor with mechanical precision. The doors opened to reveal her apartment hallway, and Miho Park leaning against her door like he owned the entire building. He looked different than she remembered. Harder, thinner, like he hadn't been sleeping. His suit was perfect as always, but there was something wild in his eyes that made her breath catch. "Hello, Yuna." His voice was silk over steel. "We need to talk." She should run, should scream, should do anything except stand there frozen as he pushed off the wall and walked toward her with that predatory grace. "How did you find me?" Her voice came out barely a whisper. "I own half the city too. He stopped 3 feet away, and she saw his gaze drop to her coat. Did you think distance would matter? That I wouldn't turn over every stone in Korea to find you? Miho, please. Take off the coat. What? Take off the coat. Each word was precisely controlled, but she could hear the fury beneath. Now, Yuna. Her hands shook as she unbuttoned it. She could lie, could try to explain it away. But the moment the coat slipped from her shoulders and revealed the unmistakable curve of her stomach beneath her sweater, she knew there was no point. The change in his expression was instantaneous. Fury transformed into something she couldn't read. Shock, maybe, or horror, or how far along? His voice had gone dangerously quiet. 5 months. She watched him do the math. Watched the exact moment he realized. His jaw clenched so tight she thought she heard his teeth crack. At the gala, when your bastard ex-husband called you fat. He stepped closer, and she backed up until she hit the elevator. You were carrying my child, and you let me stand there like a fool while those men approached you while... He stopped, closing his eyes. You were going to raise my baby alone. You don't want children, she said desperately. You told me that night. You said your life was too dangerous for... My life is dangerous. His eyes snapped open, blazing. Which is exactly why you and my child are coming with me. Right now. No. She tried to slip past him, but he caught her wrist. Gently. Always so gentle even when he was furious. This isn't a discussion. You can't just. Your ex-husband has been looking for you. The words stopped her cold. Jin was made inquiries. Hired people. Apparently, his new engagement fell through, and he's decided he wants his wife back. Terror shot through her. I'm not his wife. The divorce was never finalized. Miho's grip tightened fractionally. The lawyer died before filing the papers. You're still legally married to him, Yuna. And if he finds you before I can protect you... He didn't finish. He didn't need to. So what? I'm supposed to just trust you. Let you lock me in some fortress. Yes. No hesitation. My home. My guards. My protection. 24/7 until I can guarantee your safety. I won't be your prisoner. Something flickered in his eyes. Hurt, maybe, beneath the anger. Is that what you think you'd be? What else would you call it? Cherished. The word came out rough. Protected. Mine. His free hand moved to her stomach, hovering without quite touching. Both of you. Mine to keep safe. Mine too. He stopped, jaw working. Pack your things. We leave in 10 minutes. And if I refuse, then I'll carry you out of here over my shoulder and send someone back for your belongings. He wasn't bluffing. She could see it in every line of his body. Your choice, Yuna. Walk out with dignity or... Her apartment door exploded inward. 3 men in masks burst through, guns raised. Miho moved faster than she'd ever seen anyone move, shoving her behind him as he drew a weapon from beneath his jacket. Stay down, he barked. Gunfire erupted in the narrow hallway. Yuna screamed, hands covering her stomach as Miho returned fire with brutal efficiency. One attacker dropped. Then another. The third one lunged past Miho, straight for her. She felt hands grab her coat, yank her forward. Felt the cold press of metal against her temple. Drop it, Park, the masked man growled in her ear. Or I paint the walls with her brain. Miho froze, gun still raised. But his eyes, God, his eyes were absolutely murderous. You just made the last mistake of your life, he said quietly. The man laughed, dragging her backward. Big talk from. He never finished. A red dot appeared on his forehead 1 second. The next, Yuna was falling as the man crumpled behind her. Miho caught her before she hit the ground, already barking orders into a phone she hadn't seen him draw. Buildings compromised. Bring the car around. Now, Miho. She was shaking so hard she could barely speak. Shh. He lifted her effortlessly, carrying her toward the stairs. I've got you. I've got you both. Behind them, she heard more footsteps. More shouts. Miho's men engaging with what sounded like an entire team. Who were they? She gasped as he took the stairs 3 at a time. His expression went absolutely cold. Check the third one's jacket. She looked back, saw one of Miho's men pulling something from the dead attacker's pocket. A photo. Even from this distance, she could see what it was. Her and Miho, leaving her lawyer's office. 6 months ago. Jin was been planning this for months. Miho said grimly as they burst onto the ground floor. Which means he knows about us. About the baby. About everything. A black SUV screeched to a halt at the curb. Miho's men surrounded them instantly, creating a human shield as he placed her in the back seat. "Where are we going?" she asked as he climbed in beside her. "Somewhere your husband will never find you." He pulled her against his chest as the SUV peeled away from the curb. "Somewhere I can keep you both safe while I handle this." "Handle what?" His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and something deadly crossed his face. "What is it?" She tried to see the screen. He turned it toward her. A text message with a photo attached. Yuna's blood turned to ice. It was her medical file from her prenatal checkup last week. Detailed ultrasound images. Due date. Everything. And below it a single message. "I know about the bastard child. I'm coming for what's mine. Jay." "Miho," her voice broke. "I need you to listen very carefully." He gripped her shoulders, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Do you trust me?" "I do. You trust me." She thought of the gun in his hand, the bodies left behind, the darkness in his world that she'd tried so hard to escape. But she also thought of the way he'd shielded her body with his own, the gentleness in his hands even in the midst of chaos, the raw terror in his voice when he'd said, "I've got you both." "Yes," she whispered. "Good." He pulled her closer. "Because war just started. And this time, I'm not letting you run." Yuna threw the prenatal vitamin bottle across the penthouse. It bounced off the floor-to-ceiling window with a sharp crack that made the 2 guards stationed outside her bedroom doors shift nervously. She didn't care. Let them report back to Miho that she was losing it. Maybe then he'd understand that a gilded cage was still a cage, no matter how expensive the bars. 3 days. She'd been trapped in his fortress for 3 days, and she was ready to claw her way out. "Mrs. Park," one of the guards knocked tentatively. "Mr. Park asked us to ensure you take your vitamins." "I'm not Mrs. Park." She yanked the door open, making both men flinch. "I'm Mrs. Choi, remember? Still legally married to a psychopath, which is why I'm being held prisoner by another one." The younger guard had the grace to look uncomfortable. "We're just following orders, ma'am. For your safety." "My safety?" She laughed bitterly. "Right. That's why I can't even step onto the balcony without an armed escort. That's why my phone's been confiscated. That's why every window is bulletproof and every door requires a fingerprint I don't have. Ma'am, if you just... Where is he?" She pushed past them into the hallway. "Where's Miho?" "In a meeting. He said he'd be back by." "I don't care." She was already heading for the elevator, trying to ignore how her hands shook. "I need to get to my studio. I have a commission due in 2 days, and if I don't deliver, I'll lose the contract." The guards exchanged nervous glances. "Mr. Park was very clear that you're not to leave the penthouse. Then Mr. Park can go to hell." She made it 3 steps into the elevator before they blocked her path. "Please don't make this difficult," the older one said, though his hand had moved to his weapon. "We have orders." Yuna's throat tightened. This was insane. She was 6 months pregnant, exhausted, and so angry she could barely see straight. And these men, these strangers, had more control over her movements than she did. Just like with Jinwoo. The thought made something inside her snap. "Move," she said quietly. "Or I swear to God, I'll scream until every tenant on this floor calls the police." "Ma'am." She opened her mouth. "Let her go." All 3 of them spun. Miho stood in the private stairwell entrance, still wearing his suit from whatever meeting he'd been in. His expression was unreadable, but tension radiated from every line of his body. "Sir." The older guard looked confused. "You said." "I said let her go." Miho's eyes never left Yuna's face. "Have the car brought around. Full security detail. If she wants to go to her studio, she goes to her studio." Yuna blinked, not trusting what she was hearing. "You're letting me leave?" "With conditions." He stepped closer, and she hated how her body responded to his presence. That traitorous flutter in her stomach that had nothing to do with the baby. 6 guards minimum. You don't leave their sight. You're back here before dark. And you take your damn vitamins. She wanted to argue about the guards, about the curfew, about all of it. But the victory felt too fragile to push. "Fine," she said. 20 minutes later, she was stepping into her studio in Gangnam with an entourage that made her look like a celebrity or a target. The other artists in the building stared as 6 men in suits swept the space before allowing her inside. "This is insane," she muttered, heading for her drafting table. "I'm trying to work, not rob a bank." But God, it felt good to be back. Her designs were exactly where she'd left them 4 months ago. Sketches for a luxury hotel's interior that could have launched her career if she'd finished them. If Jinwoo hadn't sabotaged her last 3 job offers. If her life hadn't imploded. She lost herself in the work, pencil flying across paper as she refined the lobby concept. The guards maintained their perimeter, professional and silent. For a few blessed hours, she almost felt normal. Then her studio door opened. Yuna looked up, expecting one of the guards. Instead, a woman in an immaculate cream suit stood in the doorway, her smile sharp as a knife. Yuna Choi, the woman said. Or should I call you Yuna Park? The rumors are so conflicting. Every guard's hand moved to their weapon. The woman raised her hands, unbothered. Easy, gentlemen. I'm not here to cause trouble. Her eyes swept over Yuna's pregnant form with calculated interest. I'm here to offer Mrs. Choi a choice. Who are you? Yuna's voice came out steadier than she felt. Someone who knows what it's like to be trapped between 2 dangerous men. The woman pulled out a business card, setting it on the nearest table. My employer wants to help you. Get you away from both Park and your husband. Give you and your child a real chance at freedom. Your employer. Yuna's pulse hammered. And who would that be? The woman's smile widened. Let's just say he has a vested interest in seeing Miho Park lose everything he cares about. And right now, Mrs. Choi, that appears to be you. The head guard stepped forward. Ma'am, we need to leave. Now. But Yuna couldn't look away from the business card. From the promise of escape it represented. He can offer you protection Miho can't. The woman continued softly. Legitimate protection. Legal protection. New identities for you and the baby. A life where you're not looking over your shoulder every second. That's enough. The guard reached for the woman's arm. She sidestepped smoothly. Think about it, Yuna. Do you really want to raise your child in Miho Park's world? Where every day is a potential war zone. Where your baby becomes a target the moment it's born. The words hit like bullets. Because wasn't that exactly what terrified her most? We're leaving. The guard was already ushering Yuna toward the door. The woman didn't try to stop them. The offer expires in 24 hours. After that, well, things are going to get much more complicated. For everyone. Yuna's hand closed around the business card as they rushed her out. She shouldn't keep it. Should throw it away immediately. Tell Miho about the contact. But as they loaded her back into the SUV, as the guards called in the incident with tense voices, all she could think about was that word. Freedom. Her phone, the new one Miho had given her, buzzed as they pulled into traffic. Unknown number. I see you met my associate. Smart woman. Unlike Park, I won't keep you in a cage. I'll give you what you really want. Your divorce finalized, your safety guaranteed, and enough money to disappear forever. All you have to do is trust me instead of him. You have until tomorrow midnight to decide. Choose wisely, Yuna. Your baby's life depends on it. A friend. Her blood ran cold as a second message came through. An image. Miho's penthouse. Taken from outside. Through the bulletproof windows she'd been assured were impenetrable. A red circle marked her bedroom. And below it, see? Nowhere is safe. Not with him. Only I can protect you now. The phone slipped from her shaking hands. The head guard retrieved it, his face going white as he read the messages. We need to inform Mr. Park immediately. No. The word came out before Yuna could think. Not yet. Ma'am, this is a direct threat. I said not yet. She pressed her hands against her stomach, feeling the baby kick as if sensing her distress. Just give me a few hours. Please. The guard looked torn between duty and sympathy. Finally, he nodded. Until we reach the penthouse. Then I have to tell him. It's protocol. 20 minutes. She had 20 minutes to decide if she'd tell Miho about the offer, or if she'd seriously consider taking it. 20 minutes to choose between the devil she knew and the one she didn't. The SUV turned onto Miho's street, and Yuna's throat tightened. Because waiting at the entrance to his building, surrounded by police cars and men in suits she didn't recognize, was Jinwoo, her husband, smiling like he'd already won. The SUV didn't stop at the building entrance. Keep driving, the head guard barked at the driver, his hand already on his weapon. Alternative route. Now. Yuna twisted in her seat, watching through the rear window as Jinwoo's smile faltered, then twisted into rage. He shouted something, gesturing at the police officers, but they were already pulling away. What's happening? Her voice came out high and thin. Why are the police with him? I don't know, ma'am. The guard was already calling Miho. But we're not stopping to find out. The phone rang once. Twice. 3 times. He's not answering, the younger guard said nervously. That's when Yuna noticed it. The driver's hands were too steady, too calm. While everyone else in the vehicle radiated tension, he looked almost relaxed. Stop the car, she said quietly. No one heard her over the head guard's continued attempts to reach Miho. Stop the car. She lunged forward, grabbing the guard's shoulder. Something's wrong with the driver. The guard's eyes snapped to the rearview mirror just as the driver smiled. Too late, he said. Then he yanked the wheel hard to the right. The SUV jumped the curb at 60 kilometers per hour, plowing through a construction barrier. Yuna screamed as they went airborne, her hands instinctively wrapping around her stomach. The vehicle slammed down onto a service road, the impact so violent her teeth cracked together. Betrayer! The head guard lunged for the driver, but the man was already throwing open his door, rolling out while they were still moving. The SUV careened toward a concrete divider. The younger guard threw himself into the front seat, grabbing the wheel. They missed the barrier by centimeters, swerving wildly before he managed to bring the vehicle to a shuddering stop. Silence, broken only by Yuna's ragged breathing and the tick of the cooling engine. Ma'am. The guard turned, his face sheet white. Are you hurt? The baby. I'm okay. But she wasn't. Her whole body shook, adrenaline making her vision blur. What just happened? Chongmin. The head guard's voice was pure venom as he stared at the empty driver's seat. I trained him myself. 3 years on Mr. Park's security team. He slammed his fist against the door. We need to move. Now. If Chongmin sold us out, they'll be coming to finish the job. As if summoned by his words, black vans appeared at both ends of the service road. Out! The head guard was already shoving open his door. Into the construction site. Move. They ran. Yuna stumbled over broken concrete and rebar, her pregnant belly throwing off her balance. The younger guard caught her elbow, practically dragging her toward the skeletal frame of an unfinished building. Gunfire erupted behind them. Don't stop. The head guard returned fire, his shots precise even as they ran. Get her inside. They crashed through a gap in the construction barriers. The unfinished building rose above them. 20 floors of exposed concrete and empty elevator shafts. No workers. No witnesses. The perfect place for an execution. Stairs. The younger guard pulled her toward a concrete stairwell. We go up, we can. His head snapped back. Yuna watched in horror as blood bloomed across his chest, as he fell backward with a look of surprise frozen on his young face. The head guard grabbed her, threw her behind a concrete pillar as more gunfire shredded the air where they'd been standing. How many? She gasped. Too many. He was already checking his ammunition. Listen to me carefully. When I start shooting, you run up those stairs. Don't stop. Don't look back. Get to the roof and what? I'm 6 months pregnant. I can't outrun them. You have to try. His eyes were fierce. Mr. Park will come for you. I know he will. You just have to stay alive long enough for him to find you. He stepped out from behind the pillar, firing in controlled bursts. Yuna ran. Her legs burned. Her lungs screamed. The baby pressed against her ribs with each gasping breath, but she climbed. 5th floor. 7th. 10th. Below, the gunfire stopped. Then she heard the head guard scream. Yuna's legs nearly gave out, but she forced herself to keep moving. 12th floor. 15th. The stairs seemed endless, her vision narrowing to just the next step, the next breath, the next floor. She burst onto the roof, and her heart sank. Nowhere to go. No way down except the stairs she'd just climbed. The building's edge dropped 20 stories to concrete below. Footsteps echoed in the stairwell. Multiple sets. Getting closer. Yuna backed toward the edge, her hands protectively over her stomach. She'd been so stupid, so naive to think she could navigate this world between 2 dangerous men and survive. The stairwell door opened, but it wasn't Jinwa's men who stepped out. It was a woman in a cream suit. The same one from her studio. Hello again, Yuna. She held no weapon, but 3 armed men flanked her. I did warn you that things would get complicated. You. Yuna's voice shook with fury. You set this up. Me. The woman pressed a hand to her chest in mock offense. I tried to save you. Offered you a way out. You chose not to take it. So you decided to kill me instead? Kill you. The woman laughed. Oh, sweetheart, no. We're here to rescue you. This whole thing, she gestured at the building around them, was Miho's lieutenant, Hansio. He's been working for your husband for months, waiting for the perfect opportunity to eliminate Park's greatest weakness. The words didn't make sense. Lieutenant, but Miho trusts. Trusted. The woman pulled out her phone, turning it to show Yuna the screen. Security footage. Miho's penthouse. Han Seo, Miho's second-in-command, the man he'd known for years, handing Jinwoo a folder. Shaking his hand. Smiling. The attack at your studio was a distraction, the woman explained. While you were gone, Han Seo fed your husband everything. Building layouts. Security protocols. Miho's schedule. Everything needed to plan the perfect ambush. Yuna's knees buckled. Where's Miho now? The woman's smile was sharp. Walking into a trap, of course. Han Seo sent him an urgent message that you'd been taken by Jinwoo's men. He's probably racing to the warehouse district right now, completely unaware that it's a kill box. And by the time he realizes Han Seo sold him out, a helicopter appeared over the building's edge, its rotors deafening. You'll be long gone, the woman finished. Now, you can come with us willingly and live, or we can drag you. Either way, you're leaving with us. And if I refuse, then Miho Park dies thinking you betrayed him, that you were working with your husband all along. Is that what you want? The helicopter began to descend toward the roof. Yuna's mind raced. If what this woman said was true, Miho was walking into a massacre. But if she got on that helicopter, he'd never know she didn't choose to leave him. Who are you really? Yuna demanded. Who's your employer? The woman's smile widened. Someone who's wanted to destroy Miho Park for years. And thanks to you, sweetheart, we're finally going to succeed. One of the armed men stepped forward, reaching for Yuna's arm. That's when the stairwell door exploded outward. Miho stood in the wreckage, covered in blood that she prayed wasn't all his, holding a gun in each hand. His eyes found hers across the roof, and the relief in them was so profound it made her chest ache. Step away from her, he said quietly. Too quietly. The woman laughed. Park, Han Seo said you'd be halfway across the city by now. How did you? Han Seo's dead. Miho's voice was utterly emotionless. Along with everyone stupid enough to think they could use my child as bait. Impossible. He had 40 men. Miho stepped fully onto the roof, and Yuna saw the carnage behind him. Bodies in the stairwell. Blood painting the concrete. Now he has a bullet through his skull, and a lesson for anyone else who thinks betraying me is survivable. The woman's confidence flickered. The helicopter. Miho shot the pilot through the windshield. The helicopter veered wildly, the woman screaming as it banked away from the building, trailing smoke. Anyone else? Miho's eyes swept the remaining gunmen. Anyone else want to try taking what's mine? They dropped their weapons. Smart. Miho walked past them like they didn't exist, his focus entirely on Yuna. Are you hurt? She shook her head, not trusting her voice. His hands framed her face, impossibly gentle despite the blood on them. The baby. Still kicking, she whispered. Something in his expression cracked. He pulled her against his chest, his whole body shaking. When Han Seo told me Jinwoo's men had you, when I saw the crashed SUV, his voice broke. I thought I'd lost you both. How did you know it was a trap? You left your phone in the SUV. He pulled back enough to meet her eyes. I saw the messages. The offer. The photo of my penthouse. His jaw tightened. I realized Han Seo was the only person who could have taken that shot. The only one who knew both my security protocols and Jinwoo's plans. So you came anyway. I would burn the world down to get to you. He said it like a vow. I will burn the world down to keep you safe. Sirens wailed in the distance. Police. Probably more of Jinwoo's bought men. We need to move, Miho said, already pulling her toward the stairs. Where can we go? Yuna asked. If Han Seo betrayed you, if Jinwoo has the police. Nowhere in Seoul is safe anymore. His grip on her hand tightened. Which is why we're leaving Korea. Tonight. Leaving? But your empire, your business, means nothing if you're dead. He stopped, turned to face her fully. I'm choosing you, Yuna. You and our child. Over everything else. Her throat tightened. Miho. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his face went absolutely white. What? Fear spiked through her. What is it? He turned the phone toward her. A video message. Jinwoo, sitting in what looked like Miho's private office. His office, in his penthouse, where all his records were kept. Where evidence of every deal, every transaction, every kill was stored. Hello, darling wife, Jinwoo said to the camera, smiling. And hello, Park. While you were busy playing hero, I was busy making myself comfortable in your home. Did you know you have terrible digital security? I've just sent every file in your system to the police. The real police. The ones even you can't buy. Miho's hand clenched around the phone so hard the screen cracked. You have two choices, Jinwoo continued. Turn yourself in for your crimes and maybe, I'll let Yuna raise the bastard child in peace. Or run, and I'll make sure you both spend the rest of your lives looking over your shoulders. You have 1 hour to decide. The video ended. Yuna looked up at Miho, saw the trapped fury in his eyes. What do we do? He stared at the broken phone in his hand, at the woman he'd killed to protect her, at the empire he'd built that was crumbling around them. We run, he said finally. We run, and we don't stop until I can make this right. But as they descended the blood-soaked stairs, Yuna couldn't shake the feeling that running wouldn't be enough. That no matter where they went, Jinwoo would find them. And next time, Miho might not arrive in time to save her. The safe house was supposed to be impenetrable. Yuna had watched Miho's remaining men sweep every inch of the abandoned factory on the outskirts of Incheon, checking for bugs, vulnerabilities, anything that could compromise their location. They'd driven for 3 hours in the dead of night, switching vehicles twice, taking routes designed to lose any tail. And yet, as she stood by the grimy window watching dawn break over the industrial wasteland, every instinct screamed that they weren't safe. You should rest. Miho's voice came from behind her, rough with exhaustion. He hadn't slept since the rooftop, since killing Hanseo, since watching his empire begin to crumble on live news coverage. Every channel was running the story. Mafia kingpin Miho Park wanted for racketeering, murder, corruption. Photos of him in handcuffs from a decade ago, when he'd been younger and stupider. Interviews with victims, who were clearly reading scripts Jinwoo had written. I can't sleep, she admitted, her hand resting on her stomach. The baby had been restless all night, as if sensing the chaos outside the womb. Every time I close my eyes, I see Hanseo's face. How he smiled at me that morning, asked if I wanted tea. Her voice cracked. He was planning to kill me the whole time. Miho moved behind her, his arms coming around to rest protectively over her belly. Hanseo died too quickly. I should have made him suffer. The coldness in his voice should have frightened her. A month ago it would have. But now, feeling the gentle way his hands cradled their child even as he spoke of murder, she understood. This was what loving Miho Park meant. Violence and tenderness in equal measure. How many men do we have left? She asked. 12. The number hung heavy between them. He'd had over 200 a week ago. Most scattered when the warrants went public. The loyal ones are here, but 12 men against. The first explosion cut him off. The eastern wall of the factory erupted inward, concrete and metal shrieking as an armored truck crashed through. Yuna barely had time to scream before Miho tackled her to the ground, his body covering hers as gunfire erupted from every direction. Stay down. He was already returning fire, his shots precise even prone. How many? One of his men, Taijun, she thought his name was, slid behind cover nearby. At least 50. Maybe more. They came from all sides simultaneously. Impossible. Miho's jaw clenched. No one knew this location. I didn't even tell you until we were in the car. The truth hit Yuna like ice water. Your phone. The one Jinwoo sent the video to. What if? Fuck. Miho threw the phone across the room like it was a live grenade. They've been tracking us the whole time. Another explosion rocked the building. The western wall this time. They were surrounded. Basement. Miho hauled Yuna to her feet, already pushing her toward the back of the factory. There's a service tunnel that leads to the water treatment plant. We can. A bullet caught him in the shoulder. Yuna watched in horror as blood bloomed across his white shirt, as he staggered but didn't fall. His face went sheet white with pain, but his grip on her arm never loosened. Miho, move. He shoved her ahead of him, still shooting with his other hand. Don't stop. They ran through chaos. Bodies fell around them. Miho's men, the attackers, she couldn't tell anymore. Smoke filled her lungs. The baby kicked frantically against her ribs like it was trying to escape. Taijun appeared beside them, laying down covering fire. The tunnel's blocked. They blew the entrance. Then we go up. Miho's face was gray now, blood soaking his entire left side. The roof. The extraction chopper. Sir, you said the chopper wouldn't arrive for another hour. Then we hold for an hour. He grabbed a rifle from a fallen guard, pressing it into Taijun's hands. Get her to the maintenance room on the 3rd floor. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. No. Yuna clutched his uninjured arm. I'm not leaving you. You don't have a choice. He kissed her hard, tasting like blood and desperation. Our baby needs you alive. That means you go. Now. An explosion above them sent chunks of ceiling raining down. Through the smoke and fire, Yuna saw them. At least 30 men in tactical gear, advancing with military precision. This wasn't Jinwoo's hired thugs. This was something else. Who are they? She gasped. Miho's expression went absolutely murderous. Kong, the Busan Syndicate. Jinwoo must have promised them my territory if they delivered you to him. Before anyone could respond, a voice boomed through a megaphone. Miho Park, send out the woman and we'll let you die quickly. Refuse, and we'll make you watch what we do to her before we kill you both. Yuna felt Miho's whole body go rigid against hers. Over my dead body, he said quietly. That can be arranged. The voice called back cheerfully. You have 30 seconds to decide. Miho turned to Taijun. Take the others. Create a distraction on the east side. Make them think we're trying to break out there. Sir, that's suicide. That's an order. His eyes were absolutely cold now, empty of everything but lethal focus. When they converge on your position, I'll get Yuna to the roof. The chopper will come for her. And you? Yuna already knew the answer, but she needed to hear him say it. His smile was sad. I'll buy you as much time as I can. No. She grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. We survive together or not at all. Yuna. 20 seconds, the megaphone blared. I mean it, Miho. Tears streamed down her face. You don't get to sacrifice yourself. This baby needs a father. Her voice broke. I need you. Something in his expression shattered. He pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. I love you, he whispered. I should have said it sooner. Should have said it that night instead of letting you run. I love you, and I'm going to get you out of here. Time's up, the megaphone announced. Bring in the heavy weapons. Miho shoved Yuna toward Taijun. Go. Now. Sir. Go. They ran. Yuna looked back once, saw Miho standing alone in the center of the factory floor, blood-soaked and defiant, raising his weapon as a rocket launcher appeared in the doorway. Then Taijun yanked her around a corner, and she lost sight of him. The explosion was deafening. No. She tried to turn back, but Taijun held her firm. He's buying us time, the guard said grimly. Don't waste it. They climbed. 3rd floor. The maintenance room was exactly where Miho said it would be. Reinforced door, no windows, a single radio transmitter. Taijun locked them inside, immediately going to the radio. Hawk 1, this is ground team. We need emergency extraction. Repeat, emergency extraction. Static. Hawk 1, do you copy? More static. Then a voice that made Yuna's blood freeze. I'm afraid your chopper had an accident. Mechanical failure. Tragic, really. Jinwoo. He'd been listening the whole time. But don't worry, darling wife. His voice continued through the radio. I've sent my own extraction team. They should be arriving at your position in approximately 3 minutes. I do hope you haven't gotten too attached to Park's remaining men. I've given orders to kill them all on sight. Except for you, of course. You and my child are coming home. Where you belong. Taijun's face went white. He checked his weapon. I have maybe 20 rounds left. How many will they send? Yuna asked, though she already knew. All of them. He positioned himself in front of the door. When they breach, you hide behind the equipment. Don't come out, no matter what you hear. Footsteps in the hallway. Multiple sets. Getting closer. Mrs. Park. Taijun's voice was steady despite the fear in his eyes. It's been an honor protecting you. The door handle rattled. Then the gunfire started. Yuna crouched behind an industrial boiler, hands over her ears, praying. For Taijun. For Miho. For the baby that wouldn't stop kicking. The shooting stopped. Silence. Then the door creaked open. Yuna. A familiar voice. Male. Wrong somehow. Yuna, it's safe now. You can come out. She didn't move. Didn't breathe. I know you're scared. But your husband sent me to bring you home safely. No one else needs to die today. Footsteps circling the room. Getting closer to her hiding spot. Miho Park is dead, Yuna. I saw him fall myself. There's nothing left to fight for. The words punched through her chest like bullets. Dead. Miho was dead. Now come out before I have to drag you. The voice lost its gentle tone. Jinwoo's patience has limits. A hand grabbed her arm, yanked her from behind the boiler. But it wasn't one of Jinwa's men. It was the woman in the cream suit, and she was smiling. "Surprise," she said. "Did you really think I'd let Kang's thugs take all the credit for capturing you? My employer has plans. Big plans. And they all start with you." She pressed something cold against Yuna's neck. A syringe. "Sweet dreams, Mrs. Park." The world went fuzzy at the edges. Yuna tried to fight, tried to scream, but her body wouldn't respond. The last thing she heard before darkness took her was an explosion somewhere below, and a voice on the radio. Rough. Familiar. Impossible. "Yuna, if you can hear me, I'm coming. Miho. Alive." But as consciousness slipped away, she couldn't tell if it was real or just a dying wish her mind had conjured. Then there was nothing but black. Yuna woke to screaming. Her own. Pain lanced through her abdomen. Sharp, wrong, too early. She tried to move, but restraints held her wrists and ankles. The room swam into focus. White walls. Medical equipment. The antiseptic smell of a hospital, but wrong. Underground. Hidden. She's awake. A woman's voice. Not the one in the cream suit. Clinical. Detached. Heart rate elevated. Fetal distress detected. Then sedate her again. A man this time. "We can't have her thrashing during the procedure." Procedure. The word cut through the fog of whatever drug they'd given her. Yuna's head turned, and she saw the tray of surgical instruments beside the bed. Scalpels. Clamps. Everything needed for. "No." The word came out barely a whisper. "No, please, it's too early. The baby is exactly why we're doing this." The woman stepped into view, wearing surgical scrubs and a mask. Only her eyes showed, cold and professional. 26 weeks is viable with proper medical care. And our employer wants the child secured now, before Park can mount a rescue. "You're going to cut my baby out of me?" Horror and rage warred in Yuna's chest. Emergency C-section. The woman checked in 4-line running into Yuna's arm. "You should be grateful. The alternative was waiting until you gave birth naturally, and Jinwoo wanted to be present for that. This way is much more humane." Humane. Yuna yanked against the restraints hard enough to make them cut into her skin. "You're stealing my child. We're securing an asset." The woman prepared a syringe. "Once the baby is delivered and stable, you'll be returned to your husband as agreed. What he does with you after that is between you two." The needle approached her foreport. Yuna did the only thing she could think of. She screamed. Screamed loud enough to shake the windows, to make the woman hesitate. "Sedate her now," the male voice snapped. But before the woman could inject the drug, alarms erupted throughout the facility. Red lights flashed. A klaxon wailed. Somewhere above them, explosions rocked the building. The woman's eyes widened. "That's impossible. This location is classified. No one could." The door exploded inward. Miho stood in the wreckage, and he looked like death incarnate. Blood soaked through crude bandages on his shoulder and side. His face was gray with blood loss, his eyes fever bright. He held a gun in each hand, and behind him, the hallway was painted red. "Step away from her," he said. "Too quiet. Too calm. Now." The woman raised her hands. "Mr. Park, you're supposed to be dead. I've disappointed a lot of people today." His eyes never left Yuna. "Are you hurt? The baby?" Her voice broke. They were going to. She didn't need to finish. Understanding and pure murderous rage crossed Miho's face. "Who gave the order?" he asked the woman. "I don't know what you." He shot her in the knee. Her scream echoed off the white walls as she crumpled. Miho stepped over her without a glance, moving to Yuna's restraints. "The order," he repeated, working on the straps with shaking hands. "Who wanted my child?" "Your former partners." The woman gasped through her pain. "The ones you betrayed when you went legitimate last year. They wanted leverage. Insurance that you'd never." Another explosion, closer this time. The building shuddered. "We need to move." A man appeared in the doorway. One of Miho's guards, someone Yuna didn't recognize. "Kang's reinforcements are breaching the lower levels. Can you walk?" Miho helped Yuna sit up, and she saw how badly his hands trembled, how much blood he'd lost. "Can you?" she countered. His smile was grim. "Long enough to get you out." He'd taken 2 steps toward the door when Yuna's vision whited out with pain. She doubled over, gasping, feeling wetness between her legs. No, not now. "Yuna." Miho caught her. "What's wrong?" "My water just broke." She looked up at him, saw her own terror reflected in his eyes. "The baby's coming. Now." The guard cursed. We can't deliver here. The place is about to be overrun. Then we fight our way to a real hospital. Miho lifted Yuna into his arms, ignoring his wounds. How far to the nearest? 20 minutes, the guard said. But sir, in your condition. I don't care if I bleed out in the car. Miho was already moving. Get me 20 minutes. That's all I need. They ran through hell. The underground facility was a war zone. Bodies littered the corridors. Kang's men, the syndicate's guards, people Yuna didn't recognize. Miho's remaining men formed a protective circle around them, laying down covering fire as they pushed toward the exit. Another contraction hit. Yuna screamed against Miho's chest, feeling something tear inside her. Too early. The baby was coming too early. Hold on. Miho's voice was breaking. Just hold on, love. We're almost. A bullet caught the guard beside them. He went down hard. Keep moving. Miho didn't stop, couldn't stop. His shirt was soaked red now, his breathing labored. They burst into a parking garage. A black SUV waited, engine running. Miho practically threw Yuna into the back seat, climbing in beside her. Drive! He barked at whoever was behind the wheel. Nearest hospital with a NICU. Now! The SUV peeled out as gunfire peppered the rear windshield. Yuna felt another contraction, worse than before. She gripped Miho's hand hard enough to break bones. Something's wrong. There's too much blood. Miho's face went absolutely white. He lifted her legs, saw the crimson pooling beneath her, and his control finally cracked. Faster, he shouted. She's hemorrhaging. Sir, we're already doing 90. I don't care if you drive through traffic. Faster. Yuna's vision started to tunnel. The pain was everywhere now, overwhelming. She heard Miho on the phone, screaming at someone about emergency surgical teams and O-negative blood. Stay with me. His hand cupped her face, forcing her to focus on him. Yuna, stay with me. Don't you dare close your eyes. Tired, she mumbled. So tired. The pain was fading, which she knew meant bad things. I know, love. I know. Tears tracked down his blood-splattered face. But you have to fight. Our baby needs you. I need you. Love you, she whispered. Had she ever said it back? She couldn't remember. Always loved you. Then prove it. His voice turned fierce. Prove it by surviving this. By staying alive and raising our child and growing old enough to tell them how their father was a bastard who got their mother into this mess. She tried to smile, tried to squeeze his hand, but the darkness was pulling her under. The SUV screeched to a halt, shouting, hands pulling her from Miho's arms. Bright lights overhead. A woman's voice saying things about placental abruption and emergency surgery. You have to let her go, sir. Someone trying to separate Miho from her. You can't go into the OR. The hell I can't. She's carrying my child. Sir, you're bleeding. You need surgery yourself. I'm not leaving her. More voices. More hands. Yuna felt herself being lifted onto a gurney, felt Miho's hand torn from hers. Sir, if you don't let us treat you, you'll die. A moment of terrible silence. Then Miho's voice, broken and raw. Save her first. Save them both. I don't care what it costs. Mr. Park. I said save her first. He was shouting now, desperate. Take whatever you need. My blood, my organs, I don't care. Just save her and the baby. We can save you both, but you have to. His knees buckled. Yuna heard him hit the floor, heard the crash of medical equipment as people rushed to him. We're losing him. Get a crash cart. The woman's coding. We need to deliver now. Everything dissolved into chaos. Pain. Pressure. Hands on her belly. The sharp sting of a scalpel. Then a sound that cut through everything else. A baby's cry. Thin and reedy and far too quiet, but alive. It's a girl, someone said. Premature respiratory distress. We need to get her to NICU immediately. Miho. Yuna tried to sit up, but hands held her down. Where's Miho? No one answered. Where is he? Ma'am, you need to stay calm. Tell me. A doctor appeared above her, his face grave. Mr. Park lost consciousness from blood loss. We're operating on him now, but... The pause said everything. But what? Yuna's world was ending. She could feel it. His injuries are extensive. The gunshot wounds, the trauma. He's lost nearly half his blood volume. The doctor's eyes were kind but honest. We're doing everything we can, but you should prepare yourself. No. She tried to get up, to go to him. No, he promised. He promised he'd be there when the baby. Another contraction. Even though the baby was out. Something was still wrong. The doctor's expression changed. She's still bleeding. Uterine atony. We need to. The world tilted. Yuna heard alarms. Felt hands pressing on her abdomen. Tasted copper. BP dropping. We're losing her too. Someone was crying. The doctor, maybe. Or the nurses. Or maybe it was just Yuna, because she was dying and Miho was dying and their baby girl was alone. Ma'am, stay with us. But the darkness was so heavy now. So complete. Her last thought before it took her was a prayer. Let him live. Let our daughter have one parent at least. Then nothing. When Yuna woke, hours later, days, the first thing she heard was a voice she didn't recognize. Ms. Choi, can you hear me? She forced her eyes open. A different doctor. Older. Female. Standing beside her bed with an expression that made Yuna's heart stop. My baby, she croaked. Is she? Your daughter is in NICU. Critical but stable. The doctor paused. But Ms. Choi, there's something you need to know. The pause stretched too long. Miho. Yuna tried to sit up. Where's Miho? Mr. Park survived the surgery. Relief flooded through her. But he's under arrest. The police have him in custody in the ICU ward. The relief turned to ice. What? I'm sorry. The doctor looked genuinely sympathetic. But there's more. While you were unconscious, your husband filed an emergency custody petition. He's claiming that you and your daughter are in danger from Mr. Park, that the baby should be removed from both your care. No. Yuna ripped the four from her arm, ignoring the blood and the doctor's protests. He can't. That's my baby. There's a hearing in 3 hours. The doctor caught her shoulders as she tried to stand. Ms. Choi, you just had major surgery. You can't. The door opened. Jinwoo stood there, flanked by lawyers and a woman in a child services uniform. He smiled. Hello, darling wife, he said. I've come to take our daughter home. Miho Park was dead. At least, that's what the world believed. The newspapers had run the story 6 months ago. Mafia boss dies in prison from complications of gunshot wounds. There had been photos of a funeral, a closed casket, testimonies from guards who'd watched him take his last breath. All lies, but necessary ones. Now he stood in the doorway of a sun-filled studio in Kyoto, watching the woman he loved sketch designs for a luxury hotel in Singapore, and thought about how death had given him everything he'd never known he wanted. She's going to fall. Yuna didn't look up from her drafting table, but there was amusement in her voice. You're hovering again. Miho's eyes flicked to the 1-year-old wobbling across the studio floor, her chubby hands gripping a chair for balance. Mina, their daughter. The baby who'd been born too early and fought like hell to survive, just like her mother. I'm not hovering, he said. I'm observing. You're hovering. Yuna finally looked up, and even after a year, the sight of her smile still made his chest tight. She needs to learn to fall, Miho. That's how babies work. Not my baby. Yuna laughed, the sound filling the studio. She looked different than she had in Seoul. Her hair was longer, sun-streaked from afternoons in the garden. She'd gained back the weight she'd lost during the pregnancy and the nightmare that followed. But most importantly, the haunted look in her eyes was gone. Here, in this quiet neighborhood where no one knew their real names, she was finally free. They both were. Mina took another wobbly step, then another. Her face lit up with triumph as she reached the bookshelf, tiny fingers grabbing for a stuffed rabbit. See, Yuna said. She's fine. Our daughter is. Mina's legs gave out. Miho was across the room before she hit the ground, catching her mid-fall. She giggled, thinking it was a game, her tiny hands grabbing his hair. Appa. The word came out garbled, but unmistakable. Something in Miho's chest cracked open. Even after months of hearing it, the word still destroyed him. Appa. Father. A role he'd never imagined for himself. A role he'd literally died to claim. You're impossible, Yuna said, but she was smiling. She's going to expect you to catch her every time. Good. He settled Mina on his hip, breathing in her baby scent. That's my job. The doorbell rang. They both froze. No one rang their doorbell. Their neighbors kept to themselves. The mailman left packages at the gate, and anyone who knew their real identities wouldn't announce themselves so casually. Yuna's hand moved instinctively toward her phone. The panic button that would alert the private security team Miho kept stationed 3 blocks away. Wait. Miho handed Mina to her mother, already moving toward the entryway. His hand found the gun taped under the console table. Stay here. Miho, please. His eyes met hers, and she saw the old darkness there. the part of him that would never be fully domesticated. Just until I know what this is. He approached the door, weapon ready but concealed behind his back. Through the peephole, he saw a courier in a standard uniform, holding a small package. Too normal, which made it suspicious. Miho opened the door a crack, keeping his body blocking the entrance. Yes, delivery for Nakamura Kenji. The courier smiled, using Miho's false name. Signature required. I'm not expecting anything. It's marked urgent. The courier held up a tablet. From a law office in Seoul. Estate matters, apparently. Seoul. Every muscle in Miho's body tensed. Nothing good ever came from Seoul. He signed with his fake name, took the package, and closed the door. The courier left without incident, but Miho's instincts screamed that something was wrong. What is it? Yuna appeared in the hallway, Mina still balanced on her hip. I don't know. He examined the package. Professional. Legitimate looking. But the return address made his blood run cold. Kim and Associates. Jinwoo's law firm. Miho. Yuna's voice shook. He can't know. The surgeon promised. I know. But his hands trembled as he opened the package. Inside was a single letter. Typed. Formal. And a photograph. Miho's vision tunneled as he stared at the image. Yuna and Mina. Taken 3 days ago at the park. Clear. Close. Professional. They'd been watched. What does the letter say? Yuna whispered. Miho forced himself to read it aloud, his voice dead. Dear Mr. Park. Or should I say, Mr. Nakamura? Congratulations on your resurrection. It must be liberating to be dead. I've considered it myself recently. Especially after the authorities connected me to certain trafficking operations. Unfortunate business. But I digress. I'm writing to inform you that after extensive investigation, I've located my wife and the child she bore during our marriage. Since our divorce was never finalized. You remember, the lawyer died before filing the papers. Yuna remains legally my spouse, which makes her daughter legally my child under Korean law. I'm sure you understand my desire to reunite with my family. I'll be in touch soon to arrange custody transfer. Do give Yuna my love, and tell her I've missed her. Regards, Choi Jinwoo. The letter slipped from Miho's fingers. No. Yuna's face had gone sheet white. No, he can't. We changed our names, our identities, He found us anyway. Miho's voice was cold now. Empty. The voice of the man he'd been before. Which means someone talked. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. A video file. Miho's hand shook as he opened it. The footage showed their house. From multiple angles. Cameras that had been watching them for weeks. Every moment. Every routine. Mina's first steps. Yuna's morning walks. Their life catalogued and studied. And at the end, a message. I'll come for them in 48 hours. You can run again. But I'll always find you. The only question is how many people you'll watch die before you accept the inevitable. She was mine first, Park. She'll be mine again. Miho looked at Yuna. At Mina. At the life they'd built from ashes. Then he made a decision. Pack light, he said quietly. We leave in an hour. Where? Yuna's voice broke. Where can we go that he won't find us? Miho's smile was dangerous. Predatory. The old Miho surfacing through the father and husband he'd become. Nowhere. He pulled out a different phone. One he'd sworn never to use again. Which is why we're not running this time. What are you doing? He dialed a number he'd memorized but never called. It rang twice before a familiar voice answered. I thought you were dead, the voice said. I was. Miho watched Yuna's face, saw the fear and hope warring there. But I'm done being dead. I need every favor you ever owed me called in. Every contact. Every resource. Park, if you come back to Seoul, the warrants will be the least of anyone's problems. His voice dropped to something lethal. Jinwoo made a mistake. He threatened my family. And the thing about being dead, you have nothing left to lose. Silence on the other end. Then, what do you need? A war. Miho looked at his daughter, playing innocently with her rabbit, unaware that her world was about to shatter again. I need you to help me burn Seoul's underworld to the ground until there's nowhere left for Choi Jinwoo to hide. He ended the call. Yuna stared at him, tears streaming down her face. You promised. You promised we were done with that life. I was. He pulled her close, Mina between them. But he just made it clear that leaving wasn't enough. That hiding wasn't enough. His jaw clenched. So I'm going to do what I should have done a year ago. I'm going to end him. Permanently. And if you die doing it, Then I die making sure you and Mina are finally free. He kissed her forehead. But I don't plan on dying, love. I plan on winning. The phone buzzed again. Another video. This time it showed Jinwoo, sitting in what looked like a private jet, smiling at the camera. See you soon, Park, he said. Let's finish what we started. The screen went black. Mina chose that moment to take 3 perfect steps across the floor, all on her own, giggling with delight at her achievement. Neither parent noticed. They were too busy staring at each other, both knowing that the life they'd built was about to burn. The only question was who would be left standing in the ashes. Thanks so much for watching this story. If you're dying to know whether Miho survives his final confrontation with Jinwoo, whether Yuna and Mina make it out safe, and how this war for their family ends, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. Drop a comment below telling me, should Miho go to war for his family, or should they keep running? I read every single one, and your answers help shape where these stories go. See you in the next video.